Good morning, everybody. My name is Mary. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the second week of the Every Bit Count Challenge. The garden is looking beautiful at this time of the year. I love waking up in the morning and walking the garden just to see the different produce that is starting to show up. Now, we have a lot of different projects this week, but since I already showed you a couple of those projects, pickling and freezing produce, I chose to only show you different recipes that I haven't shown on the channel before. So I started the week doing a huge harvest of onions and potatoes. The harvest of onions you may have seen in another video was beautiful, and the harvest of the potatoes is even better. If you want to see the harvest, it will be on Wednesday's video. Now let's start our project for this week. On this day, I had plenty of tomatoes, enough to make a double batch of a bruschetta recipe. There is a recipe in the bulk book that you can check it out. That's an approved recipe. For myself, I took the same recipe. I just didn't put 9 cups of tomatoes. I put 8 cups of tomatoes instead. And I add a little bit of salt. So I will put in the description below the recipe I use. The modification that I use is not supposed to be affecting the recipe, but if you want a true improved recipe, you can use the bulk recipe. Now, as you can tell, I have all my spices in a jar. One of my tricks at the beginning of the season, I put all the spices that I'm gonna need for a double batch of pizza sauce or a double batch of bruschetta, a double batch of spaghetti sauce, and I prepare the spices in a jar and I put it in my cupboard. Now, when you have a big canning day, your kitchen's gonna get messy, and it's not always fun to be pulling in and out all the spices. So I find it easier just to cut my vegetable, take that mason jar full of spices and just put it in and know that it was measured at another time when my head was probably a little bit more rested. Now, with all the produce that's coming in the freezer right now, I have a full freezer and I need to get some stuff out of the freezer to make space. So I had a big, huge bunch of bits and pieces of vegetables and a lot of chicken bones. So I decided to make some chicken broth so I can make a big, huge batch of hamburger soup. That's one of my favorite and one of my husband's favorite soup for the wintertime. It took me about 45 minutes since I already had all my vegetable cut from another time, and my meat was already pre-cooked in advance also. And I added some potatoes. I didn't cook the potatoes through and the vegetable. I just heated them up a bit so that it would be all the same temperature when I would can it. I took all of the soup and put it in my jars, and the rest of the soup I just made for supper, and I kept on cooking it. If you're cooking soup, it has to be pressure can, especially if you have meat. So please be advised that you need to pressure can because the acidity of the soup is too low to be water bath canned. The next morning, I still had a lot of tomatoes and I decided to do my famous salsa. Now, this salsa is so good. It's salsa with corn and it's a bit sweet, but also a bit spicy. Now, if you want to change the recipe and make it your own, you could add some peppers or even pepper flakes. For us, we don't eat very spicy because of our conditions, but it's a very good salsa if you want to try it. It is based off a salsa that one of my friend Joanie gave me, and I modified it a bit, but I'll give credit to Joanie. There's something about getting your own produce in the backyard that is very special. Now, on this day, I needed celery and some green peppers to finish my salsa. And it's an amazing feeling just opening the door and walking in your own grocery store. I'm gonna take all the tomatoes, the onions, and the peppers, and I'm gonna add some salt to it. And I'm gonna let it rest for at least 2 hours. And at the end, I'll take out all the liquid that's left. Now, if you want a very thick salsa, do your best to take out as much liquid as possible. But if you like a very runny salsa, maybe you could keep a little bit of the liquid. Now, for the liquid, what I do with it is I freeze it. I put it in a glass container that I freeze in the fridge. And at the end of the summertime, when I finish all my different projects, I take all the juice and I make some tomato juice with it. Some spicy one and some a little bit less spicy. Now I'm gonna add up my spices and the rest of the vegetables, and I'm gonna cook the salsa for about 30 minutes on the stove. After 30 minutes, I will be water bath canning this salsa for 15 minutes. Very easy and quick project. This is the end of the video for the second week of the Every Bit Count Challenge. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please give me a like, subscribe to the channel, and we will see you on Wednesday for a potato harvest. Have a good day, friends.